Okay, so Donald Trump has just passed an executive order getting rid of food stamps and all of these other welfare services. So Trump, say what you will about him, but he gets things done. He does things. Maybe not always the best things, but at least he has the balls to actually go in there and change things. Unlike Biden, that just sat back and watched this country fall to pieces over the course of 4 years. Trump is saying, no, if you don't work, you don't eat. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
Sweeping freeze on all federal grants, funds already approved by Congress. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl is tracking Trump's executive action. John, the administration says this is just a temporary pause, but it could have major consequences.
George, look, there is a lot of confusion this morning about what exactly this directive means, but it may be the most far-reaching executive action this White House has taken yet. It could potentially halt hundreds of billions of dollars in federal spending on everything.
Good. Good. Why do I work to pay for other people's stuff? Why does 30% of my income go to other people that don't work? And a lot of these people that don't work can work, they just don't want to. So I have to worry about bills. I have to worry about paying taxes. I have to worry about all this stuff. While some people just sit back and live off the hog, live off the lamb. Trump is saying, no, no, no. Take your butt to work. Take your ass, your lazy ass, to work and do something. Now, obviously, the job market isn't the best, but the government can actually install programs where if you work for the government for a certain amount of hours, then you can get food stamps. Okay? But just sitting back and rewarding people for not working, and if these people do work, all of a sudden they're in an entirely different tax bracket and they lose all their benefits. Have you seen what the poverty line, the official poverty line is in America? It's only like $16,000, $17,000 a year. You literally have to try to make that little. Okay? So yeah, it's all just a scam. It's all a scam. People say Americans, the immigrants say Americans are lazy. They don't want to work. Yeah, it's because there's no incentive. No incentive. The middle class is dead. If you're middle class, you're too poor to get benefits, and you're too rich to get benefits, and you're also too poor to actually live life. So Trump, I support this 100%. Get rid of everything. If nobody has if certain people that work can't have access to some of these programs, then nobody should have access to it. Nobody should have access to it. The person that works deserves food stamps. The person that wakes up at 6 a.m. every day deserves food stamps, deserves Medicaid, medical care. The person that doesn't, I mean, I understand people have medical conditions. People have genuine medical conditions, but let's be honest, like 90% of people taking out these programs, they just don't want to work. They just don't want to work. They could easily get a job or do something, start a business, start a company, sell items, do something. Do something. Do something. But instead they just want to just collect welfare, just collect somebody else's money. It's not your money, it's somebody else's. That's how taxes actually end up being sustainable because people that work pay for the people who don't work. And with the demographic shift where the average American age is getting older and older every single year, people are having less children because they can't afford to. And yeah, it's like a snowball effect. It will put so much burden on the people that work that people are just going to throw their hands up and say no. At least in Europe, if you work, you still have access to Medicaid and dental and transportation. You have access to all these amenities, even if you work, even if you do make a middle class wage, it's still free. But in America, if you work, all of a sudden, you don't have access to this stuff. So it's really just fucked up because it's punishing people that actually make more money. And $100,000 isn't a lot in 2025. $100,000 is nothing. Okay, 20, 30 years ago, that would have been pretty much like you're rich. But now it's like $100,000. That's nothing, especially in cities like California. But the federal government taxes you all the same, all the same. So no matter where you live, no matter how high your rent is, say if you live in New York and rent is like $4,000 a month, the federal government will still tax you as if you're rich, even though you can barely afford to live.
From assistance to farmers, to Head Start programs, to disaster relief and public transportation. In a memo describing this, was obtained by ABC News, the White House Budget Office has ordered all federal agencies to cease any financial assistance if they believe the program might conflict with President Trump's executive orders. The directive is not specific about which programs would have to be suspended, but it's clearly far-reaching. It says, quote, this memorandum requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs and supporting activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements. The only thing explicitly not included in this is Medicare and Social Security and anything directly given to individuals.
Now, what I think Trump should do is just pass Medicare for all. Just give everybody health care. Just give everybody health care. I don't care how much you make. I don't care if you're a millionaire. I don't care if you're dirt poor. Just give it to everybody. Because if only certain people can get free medical care, then it's just not fair to the people that work. It's not fair to the people who make over $18,000 a year and live technically above the poverty line, but we know that the real poverty line is like somewhere along $50,000 a year. But it could be more in certain, again, could be more in certain states, cities, whatever. So just give it to everybody. It should be a human right. Medical care should be a human right. And just making it punishing for people that work, that and just rubbing in their faces, hey, you got to pay for this, but the guy who hasn't worked in 20 years doesn't. You got to pay for this food, but the guy who hasn't worked in 50 years doesn't. And a lot of these people actually do work. They just work under the table and don't pay taxes. The immigrants, the migrants, the illegals, they literally work, get all their money under the counter, don't pay a single cent in taxes. And not only that, sometimes they themselves as non-citizens can get access to welfare programs that tax-paying citizens can't get. Like you've seen New York, you've seen how the migrants, they got free room and board, free food, they got EBT cards loaded up with like thousands of dollars, while the American citizens are living off of Dollar Tree, living off of cheap processed food. Do you understand how messed up this is? Do you understand why Trump needed to pass a law like this? Oh, but it's too extreme. Oh, he can't do that. Like, come on, dude. The only people who are complaining about this are the people who don't work, who don't contribute, who live and think they're entitled to do nothing their entire lives, never work for anything, and get things for free. Besides food, matter of fact, even food isn't really a human right, because if you look in the way humans came about, they had to hunt for food. Somebody had to hunt for the food. And the person who hunted for the food got the best piece of the meat. Now it's the opposite. The person who hunts for the food, who works a blue white collar job, or works in a labor intensive job or an intelligence intensive job, they get screwed. They get screwed. Oh, I have to pay 30, 40, 50% more for my food, but somebody else that didn't do it gets it for free? Gets it for free? It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
But George, this is far-reaching. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer responded, one of many responding overnight, saying Congress approved these investments. They are not optional. They are the law. And you described it as a pause, George. It's important to point out this memo does not say how long the pause will last. There's nothing specifying when the pause is over.
Right, as you say.
It should be paused until we can figure out what is going on. I mean, the IRS will audit you, but the IRS doesn't audit themselves. The government will audit you, patrol you, but they never hold themselves accountable. Okay? So it's, and you know, we're giving billions and billions to countries that have done nothing, absolutely nothing for us. Nothing. Zero. Zip. We don't get anything. We're taking in their poor. We're taking in their weak. We're taking in their sick. We're taking in their elderly. We're taking in their children just over the border. But when American citizens are starving, weak, poor, elderly, do these countries take us in? Do these countries help us? When countries see things like Skid Row, like Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, do they send money? Do they set up aid camps or help camps and send billions of dollars? Hell no. Hell no. We're being used. We're being exploited. Not only by U.S. citizens that don't want to work, but also from international freeloaders that don't want to work, that don't want to innovate, that don't want to contribute to the society. They feel as if they're entitled to the success of America. They feel as if they're entitled to the success of the U.S. taxpayer. So what you really don't even make, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how somebody can make you work 3 months out of the year for free and feel as if they're entitled to 30% of your income, if not more. And that's just the stuff. That's not including sales tax. That's not including all these other taxes, gas tax, all these little taxes sprinkled about everywhere, all to siphon the wealth of the middle class. And we wonder why the middle class no longer exists. The middle class no longer exists. It's no longer a thing. There is no middle class. There's either the ultra poor or the ultra rich. Okay? And those people slightly less poor than the people who are really poor, meaning they don't work at all, will get punished. Punished, and disincentivized into themselves not working and living off welfare.
This could be have such sweeping impact, and also comes on top of a big shakeup at the Justice Department.
Yeah, that's right. The Trump administration has fired over a dozen career prosecutors in the Justice Department's national security and criminal divisions. These are people who were involved in any way in the cases against Donald Trump. These officials received an email from the acting attorney general on Monday telling them, in part, given your significant role in prosecuting the president, I do not believe that the leadership of the department can trust you in implementing the president's agenda faithfully.
So, yeah, you should have known this was coming. If you literally try to prosecute a former president that is running for office, then you shouldn't be surprised when once he gets in office, he fires you. Duh! That shouldn't be a surprise. Okay, why would any president allow somebody who hates their guts and wants them in jail to be on their team? Nobody would do that. Okay, and presidents really should exercise their power because they're pretty much the only people in government that were voted for by the entire country. The entire country. And it was a census. And people said no more immigration, no more welfare, no more foreign wars that cost hundreds of billions of dollars, no more aid, none of this. Now, Trump did say we're pausing foreign aid, but it excludes Israel and Ukraine. Now, I very much disagree with that. Very much disagree. It should be for everybody. Everybody. But it's much better than what Biden was doing, giving away hundreds of billions to everybody, like obscure countries that do nothing for us, just giving hundreds of billions. Much better than that. So we should really just take what we can get right now. It's not perfect, but we should be able to take what we can get. And let me clarify, I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump at all. At all. Matter of fact, I think he's annoying. But you see these policies and you separate yourself from policies in person. He's actually doing a lot of good. Just within 2 weeks, he's shaking up the paradigm. And that's really the most impactful thing he's doing. He's shaking up the paradigm. He's changing the culture. He's making things, he's making points. Even though he probably knew it would get struck down, that getting rid of food stamps thing, he knew it would get struck down. But he's making a point. He's making a statement. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable. Because this stuff can get taken away from you at any moment. So it's best to get a freaking job.
Those fired, George, include some of the Justice Department's most senior prosecutors. These are individuals who have served in Republican and Democratic administrations.
It also comes on top of action taken against some AID, foreign assistance professionals. And we learned about an executive order the president signed Monday that could set in motion a ban on transgender troops.
Yeah, this builds on a previous...
Is this really even a debate? Is this even a debate? If you can get rejected by the military for obscure things about you, do you seriously think that the military should take in a tranny? Really? 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 You can get rejected from the military just for having depression, just for having too much anxiety, just for little things, little mental illnesses. So why would they take in a tranny? It makes no sense. It makes zero sense.
This order he had done last week. It seems to pave the way to pushing openly transgender people out of the military, mirroring the order he signed on transgender last week. But this goes further, allowing the Pentagon to possibly bar transgender people if they identify as a gender other than the one assigned at birth. It states expressing a false gender identity divergent from an individual's sex cannot satisfy the rigorous standards necessary for the military service.
Based. This stuff should have been done a long time ago. And really, I know we signed more executive orders than this, but I really like these executive orders shown in this video clip. I can't disagree with it. I can't disagree with it. Now, we've all been there where we needed welfare or food stamps. We need a little bit of help. But when you're just going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 years without working, you shouldn't be rewarded for that.